Alright, so I mentioned to an interested mixer on our Discord server. By the way, you guys can join in on the fun. The permanent invite to our Discord server is in the description below. But I mentioned to her that I would cover the complete startup process to mixing. Now, this is not a mixing video. This video is for all of you who wonder, where do I start? By the way, I'm sweating my ass off because our air conditioner is on the fritz right now, so yeah. Now, I know most of you are concerned about the cost. Why else would you be getting into DIY other than making your own awesome creations? I mean, come on. You get to make whatever you want. But I thought I'd take a few moments to break down the process to an easy to follow tour guide of sorts. So if you want to get started, this video is going to be for you beginners. So why do you want to DIY your own e-liquid? To save money? To enhance your vaping experience? To continue post FDA regs? Oh, I know what it is. You want to make e-liquid you can't find anywhere else. I don't know. Maybe you want to clone that $30 bottle of your favorite e-liquid. Am I right? Whatever your reason is, I can't recommend DIY enough. It's rewarding both creatively and financially. And think about how jealous your friends are going to be when you're stocked up on all that fantastic juice that you made. Hopefully this video will give you more insight to those looming questions you've always wondered about DIY. If you have any further questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below and I will do my absolute best to help you along. So the first question most people ask is, where do I start? Of course, that's what this video is about, so let's move on. This is probably the best time to ask yourself a few questions before moving on. Very important questions. Like A, what flavor of e-liquid do you typically vape? Is it fruit? Is it dessert? Etc. This is important to consider for your first order of flavors. Although I do recommend fruit first because, well, you won't really need to steep your mixes if it's fruit. This is important at first because you're going to be eager to try it. The fact is, we all are, but patience is key, and you'll come to find that with DIY. And I don't want you to mix up a batch of a dessert and be discouraged because it hasn't had an opportunity to really steep and become what it is that it will be. If you're not familiar with steeping, it's essentially the process of the separate ingredients bonding to blend together. So creams and heavy ingredients need time, whereas fruits are pretty much ready to go from the first mix. Straight out of the gate, they're pretty much ready to go. So the next question to ask yourself is, how much do you typically vape day to day? Is it 10 mil, 20 mil, 30 mil? Are you a 500 mil guy? This is important to figure out what size bottles you're going to want. Now, you can clean, sorry I'm sweating again, you can clean and refill your bottles. In fact, just starting out, I'll recommend smaller bottles, especially if you decide to tinker and try stuff out. That way you're not tempted to make too much, and if you don't like your mix, you're not wasting a ton of liquid, which is kind of important. Now, dropper wise, whether tip or glass dropper is going to be up to your personal preference and budget, but for just starting out, my recommendation would be to get the cheap plastic tip droppers such as this one, and they can be found on eBay or Amazon for very reasonable prices. I'll drop a link in the description for those as well. Now, the next question would be, what ratio do you tend to vape? If you tend to stay with max VG liquid, you're going to want to order a bigger bottle of VG, because obviously you're going to be using more VG than PG. And for those of you who are new, VG is vegetable glycerin and PG is propylene glycol. These are essential ingredients for mixing e-liquid. For this walkthrough video, we're going to be using the dripper vapor as an example. That's you 70-30, 80-20 max VG guys and gals. So we'll be ordering a bigger bottle of vegetable glycerin than propylene glycol. The next, well, probably the most important question to ask yourself is, what sort of budget do you have for this project? I say project because DIY is really hit or miss for most people. If you have a comfortable first experience with DIY, you're more likely to stick with it. Most first-time DIYers are hesitant to spend a lot of money up front, and I don't blame them. So I'm going to present to you a cost-effective but very tasty way to put vapor in your lungs and green back in your bank account. Vapor all over the room. There's many sites on the internet where you can find e-liquid recipes. eliquidrecipes.com, obviously, ejuicemakers.com, alltheflavors.com, many more I won't mention here for time constraint purposes. Just know that recipes are pretty plentiful online. But how do you find the one that's right for your first time order? To show you an easy method of finding recipes, we'll use eliquidrecipes.com. Drag your cursor to the search bar and type in a flavor that you're a fan of. Simply hit search, then click on ratings. take a look at the higher rated recipes, find one you like, now click on one and read the comments. If all looks promising, this is probably a good recipe for you to start with. For your first time, I would suggest going with something that's just a few ingredients, 5 at the most. But mixing a standalone ingredient would be ideal. And what I mean by that is a simple strawberry or blueberry, and whatever fruit you're into. Just something that is super simple and cost effective for your first time. I personally am going to recommend trying out the strawberries and cream recipe on this channel. It's tasty and very cost effective, having only 3 flavors on top of VG, PG, and nicotine. So let's use that as an example here. Now that we know what flavors we need, where do we order from? The websites I can recommend for purchasing flavors are eCigExpress.com, BullCityVapor.com, and NicotineRiver.com. I'll be sure to add more in the description below, along with any other pertinent information. Price comparing with these 3 websites is really simple. Just add all of the flavors to your cart on each website, go to checkout, and compare the cost. Shipping is going to be cheaper on one site or the other, depending on your location. For example, Nicotine River is typically for those on the West Coast, and Bull City Vapor is going to be cheaper for those on the East Coast. Again, I reiterate, this is typical. It's not always the case, but it can play a role in affecting the final cost. We need to figure out if we're going to be DIYing with a scale or with syringes. Now, for the beginner, I recommend picking up a scale. As a matter of fact, for everyone, I recommend picking up a scale. It just keeps things nice and clean, and it's very easy to understand, and it's cost effective, being that the scale with the dropper bottle is all you're going to need. So where do we get our scale? Now, if you already have one in your home, perhaps for the kitchen, you can skip this part of the video. Otherwise, eBay and Amazon will be your best options. My suggestion is going to be the American Way LB501 digital kitchen scale. The link for this scale will be in the description box below for your reference. It's 26 bucks and comes with Prime if you're an Amazon shopper. So there you go, all you Amazon shoppers. At a 500 gram capacity, this will cover you for quite a long while. It comes with an AC adapter, weighing bowl, 4 AAA batteries, weighs down to a 0.01 gram resolution, and has a 10-year limited warranty. This scale will be an investment that will pay off many times its cost in the long run. Trust me on that. I've been using this same scale for the last few years, and it's held up very well. Now that we've got that figured out, we'll need nicotine. Unless, of course, you don't use it. If that's the case, feel free to skip ahead. But I do feel this is the most appropriate time to tackle the dangers of nicotine topic. This is me hoping you possess some level of intelligence and common sense. A lot of new DIYers and those not familiar with DIY have this ongoing perception that nicotine somehow is lethal. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, if you drink the solution, it can have lethal effects. It probably will, especially if it's 100 milligram, but concentrated nicotine, as many see it, is still a diluted form of nicotine. The real harm only applies to drinking it. As long as you keep gloves and absorbent cloth on hand for a spill and are cautious when measuring, there's absolutely nothing wrong with handling it. Just don't ever leave it laying around for your kids or pets to get into. Basically, what I'm saying here is treat it like that stash of liquor you keep hidden. Oh, I know you've got one. Don't act like you don't. That being said, and you being ye of much common sense, if you care about being cost effective, I'm going to recommend buying 100 milligram per milliliter nicotine. Now, if this somehow frightens you, you can always opt for a lower level such as 36 milligram, but just remember, the higher the milligram per milliliter, the more you're going to save in terms of how much you get per milliliter and how long it lasts for you. The other 2 ingredients we're going to need are propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin. As mentioned earlier in the video, the amount you're going to need is going to depend on the VG-PG ratio you find most enjoyable. Do you vape 50-50, 70-30, max VG? Now, this can be purchased from the same place you get your nicotine. Just starting out, I would recommend buying the smaller bottles to be sure DIY is for you. Listen, the last thing I want to do is cost you a lot of money if you're not going to stick with it. So, of course, up next, since we're talking price, how much? So this question probably, again, hovers at the top of the list for most looking to start mixing. How much will it cost total to get started? Now, of course, I want to remind you, you can look around for sales and deals, and you'll probably be able to cut the cost even further, but this will give you a good ballpark figure for starting out. Now when comparing this to buying e-liquid in stores or from vendors, the difference is quite dramatic. The savings really start to stack up once you've gotten a good 4 or 5 preferred recipes nailed down. I'm talking thousands of dollars saved per year, and that's not an exaggeration, depending on how much you typically vape day to day. So don't let this piddly amount startle you. The cost decreases as you start to grow your DIY ingredient collection. At last, let's have a recap of the supplies we're going to need. Okay, so we have bottles, a scale, flavoring obviously, PG, VG, nicotine, disposable gloves, and paper towels for any messes you may incur. Most people have paper towels at home, so we'll exclude that from the cart. Okay, so now that we've got all that, let's hit checkout. As you can see from what we have so far, PG, VG, nicotine, bottles, flavorings, and the scale, our total comes to... Now, the final step to all of this, unfortunately, is the weight. Probably one of the most painful yet somehow enjoyable experiences of ordering new ingredients you'll come to find, much like ordering any other vape gear as you have before, is the wait. It can take anywhere from 3 days up to a week. I've had it take a little longer, although that's rare to get my supplies. These 3 companies are usually on their game when it comes to shipping. Okay, so now that your ingredients have arrived, what next? Now you start on your recipe. We won't cover the mixing portion in this video, but I'm sure other videos on the channel will help you out in that regard. As always, subscribe, share, spread the gospel of DIY, drop a thumbs up if I helped you, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. DIY doesn't have to be intimidating. It isn't difficult, and if there's any way I can help you in your progress, please don't hesitate to comment asking for help. Hit us up on Discord or on Facebook. We're always ready to help. We all started somewhere. So until next time, guys, cloud salute.